then you actually get to experience it rather than just check it off your bucket list or get that dopamine hit of like, ooh, I'm in a new place, I'm traveling. Once you've been doing it for a while, that wears off and you actually just want to become a part of the culture and like figure out the actual location that you're living in. And maybe you come back, maybe you don't.
Welcome to the Career Anywhere podcast, a show to help aspiring remote professionals discover their ideal career and lifestyle so you can be more inspired and in control than ever before.
Hello, today I'm here with my partner, Val. Hi, Val.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
Good to be with you. Let's rock this.
Yes, we're going to be talking about slow traveling today. And what is slow travel? It's a way of traveling that emphasizes connection to the people and the culture. And it's also an approach to travel that's more sustainable for local communities and the environment. So, Val and I just came back from a little weekend trip to Isla Mujeres, which is the Mexican island in the Caribbean Sea just off of the coast of Cancun. And this is one of the many benefits of slow traveling is that you get to take your time to experience the benefits of the location you choose to stay in. So we're big advocates of slow traveling, and I'm excited to just dive right in. So Val, when you first started working remotely, how did you go about traveling? Like, what was your itinerary like?
Well, there's two parts to that question. I think initially 2016, not that long ago, but I was a noob to remote work and to traveling while working. So I actually probably overdid it and traveled a little more quickly than I needed to. I went a month at a time. Some of the locations I chose, they didn't work with the time zone of the clients that I was dealing with at that moment. So lesson learned. But yeah, I'm a big proponent of slow travel for sure. I think that we have a long life. I certainly am planning to slow travel for the rest of my life, essentially. That doesn't mean I won't ever have a home, but I'll always be traveling of sorts. So quick travel. When I say quick travel, I think that means these digital nomads that are spending a week in one spot and then they move to the next spot and they spend a week or 2 weeks and move from there. And it's very exciting and very interesting, but I think it's not truly a lifelong digital nomad or remote worker. They're kind of, in between sitches and they're trying to get in all the travel they can. They're doing that fishbowl style of traveling, meaning they're not really experiencing the culture. They're experiencing the location like as if they're in a fishbowl and they're just kind of like seeing it and then moving on to the next. And there's almost like a little bit of a checkbox. I'd like to think of this as a lifelong adventure. We could go to all the main places 20 times within the next 3 years if we wanted to. There's no need to do that. Might as well just experience the whole world. Then you actually get to experience it rather than just check it off your bucket list or get that dopamine hit of like, ooh, I'm in a new place, I'm traveling. Once you've been doing it for a while, that wears off and you actually just want to become a part of the culture and like figure out the actual location that you're living in. And maybe you come back, maybe you don't.
But yeah, that's very common, isn't it? Like when I first started working remotely, I was actually traveling a lot, every other week, really. What were some of the places that you went to in the beginning?
When I first started, I was very enamored with the remote lifestyle. And I'd spent pretty much all of my adult life in California. When I went on vacation, it was usually like camping, going to Yosemite, just like major parks that are awesome, but not like going to another place because it involves getting on a plane and several hours, you lose a day, so on and so forth. So I actually went overboard, I think, a little bit. My first trip, I went to Hong Kong, like literally immediately I went to Hong Kong as soon as I was remote, which I do not regret. It was an amazing experience. I'm looking forward to going back. But in terms of work, it wasn't exactly the smartest way to communicate and collaborate with my associates back in the United States. If you are collaborating and if you're in some sort of managerial role, whether you're just managing yourself and producing for the client, you need to be able to communicate. And I can't be literally on the opposite side of the planet. So that was the big learnings. I've stayed in the Western Hemisphere since then. And that's, you just touched on kind of like the big mission in the next phase of my remote career is to actually like truly separate my time from my employer and really like do what I do, which is I'm a software designer, I'm a UX UI designer, and do that effectively, which requires communication, collaboration. It requires meetings. There's no way around that daily. But do that while living in, say, Portugal or Spain or even the Ukraine.
And there's plenty to explore within South America. So, would you have any tips on the topic of slow traveling? Like maybe destinations, duration?
A few tips come to mind. One would be minimum 1 month at a time. I actually recommend 3 months. But I understand if you're excited, if you're a newbie to remote work, maybe you only want to do a month at a time. I totally get it. I did that too. But I would say once you get settled, it's a minimum 3 months at a time. You don't jump from continent to continent. Think of it as a road trip. Let's say you're from Texas. You would move down through Central, then South America, like a road trip. Even though you're not in a car, you're taking planes, but you just move down. You're not like jumping over to Iceland and then coming back to Chile and then going to South Africa and then coming back to Brazil. Like it's just inefficient. Right, exactly. That is the act of someone that is trying to fit in as much, experiences as possible because they're afraid it's going to end. You need to create a full-on remote career that you believe in and that you know is sustainable. And then that relieves you of that burden of like, oh, I got to see the whole world now before I have to become an adult or whatever. I think that's a joke, but it's actually pretty accurate, I think, to many people in their late 30s that are, kind of have that mindset. They're sort of like, okay, well, I don't know how long this is going to last. Well, just make a career as a remote professional. And by doing that, you're providing a service that is needed, that large enterprise companies are willing to pay for. And they don't care if you're remote, as long as you deliver the goods. And then once you've got that, we can go into that another time. But like once you have that, then you can just ease up. And it's like, okay, I get to call the shots of where I live, within certain restrictions.
Yeah.
But so one would be a minimum 1 month. Another tip for newbie remote workers and slow travelers would be to go to places that have an infrastructure at first. Get your lay of the land. There's a certain, again, it's just kind of like a desire to see the most extreme, like you want to push the edges. So you want to go to like this remote location that's totally off the grid and just be a baller who's working off the grid. But at the end of the day, you need that solid Wi-Fi connection. You need to have an Apple store within a couple hours drive so that you can replace that part that broke down or that you lost. You want to have a Walmart within an hour's drive, like things like that. So I would start, those are maybe more practical. There's also things like community infrastructure, like co-working, things like that. So go to one of the kind of hot digital nomad spots. I'm talking about Chiang Mai, talking about Playa del Carmen, talking about Lisbon, just like these places that have been settled a little bit by expats and digital nomads that have paved the way for us now to come in, and the infrastructure's there. And so you can ease in. You don't have to deal with all the problems right away. And then if you want to get that treehouse in the middle of the jungle, go for it. But start with the easy path and just follow in the footsteps of others.
Ooh, treehouse. That does sound nice.
Yeah, that's the dream. It's a treehouse that is 20 minutes away from the major city.
All right. Yeah, I totally agree with everything that you're saying, especially I feel like one of the challenges as a remote worker is to self-manage. And I think we talk about this in another podcast episode. But a benefit of slow traveling is that you get to build these routines so you can better self-manage your time, your tasks, so that when you do decide to start quick traveling, you're probably more prepared for that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, until you travel, your routines haven't truly been tested. And when you travel, and this is why slow travel is good, because you don't want to have to re-up every month. Give yourself 3 months to get your routines in order in this new place. Find your new gym, find your new supermarket, find that local place that has all organic food, find that CrossFit box that is just right for you, or go to the local park or whatever it is. But it kind of forces you to dial in those routines and make sure that those routines are not dependent on literally your location and what's around you. Like, they're routines that you can do anywhere, so they're actually tested. And that's empowering. That's like you're a beast of a person when you can just live your life on your own terms, no matter where you are.
I mean, I have a big smile on my face right now because I love that. I love like going to the same cafes. I know it sounds counterintuitive when you think about remote work, but if you're going to stay somewhere for like 3 months, 6 months to a year, you are ultimately going to experience somewhere new. It's actually nice to go back to the same places and where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great point. Traveling isn't about like completely new experiences on a daily basis. It's about going to a new place and then actively building your life in that place. And part of that is finding your little spots. Maybe it's your Starbucks, maybe it's this local cafe, maybe it's both the Starbucks and the local cafe, maybe it's another spot as well. I think we can all agree we're all humans. We want community. We want to connect with people. We like it when people remember our name. So I've always said this out loud, but certainly in my own notes to myself, is like, when you go to a new place, job number one is to find your gym. I guess I call it gym, but it just exercise area. Could be outdoor free area, but like the place where you go to work out, at least one. You want your cafe, your coffee shop. You want your like co-working place, like the place when you're not working from home that you go to and there's fast Wi-Fi and you just got it. And you want to go to those places often and literally make friends, like make friends with the staff, see the people that come there every day. And that's how you build community. And it's wonderful. It's a good exercise. It keeps you on your toes. Make sure you don't get stale. You don't get too kind of comfortable.
If this all sounds a little overwhelming, don't worry because I believe Val has some suggestions in terms of like co-working communities that you can actually co-live and co-work and travel with. I haven't tried them out yet, but Val, do you want to share with us?
If you're brand new and you really don't know what to do, like join a group like Wi-Fi Tribe or Unsettled or Remote Year. You have high quality Wi-Fi. You have a community built in. You're just good to go. You don't have to think about anything, and that'll get you kind of comfortable. And then when you want to branch out on your own, stick to kind of like remote friendly places like Selena outside. And then once you get real comfortable and you graduate, then you can just go straight up Airbnb, baby. Just get that treehouse or whatever you need because you know what you need at that point. I'm speaking from experience. This is touching on to the beginning of the conversation where like I went treehouse from the beginning because I got excited and learned that maybe, there's actually a lot of nuance to traveling remote and being productive. Yeah, that can only be learned through experience. I could tell you all the tricks and everything, but you really got to just live it for yourself. That's the only way you'll truly know.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you hit subscribe, leave us a comment if this video resonated, or if there is any other topic about working remotely you'd like to hear from us in the future, let us know.
Thanks again for tuning in. But before you go, I just have to ask, are you feeling stagnant and craving for change because you're at a job you're no longer interested in, or you are, but you just want to experience more, you want to do more and travel and grow? If so, then head to careeranywhere.co now, because for a limited time, our workbook is free for you to download. It's going to help you get unstuck and gain momentum for you to create the change you want. Don't miss out on this opportunity, because if you want to experience the kind of freedom you're dreaming about, you need to take action. So don't wait any longer. Get your free workbook at careeranywhere.co today.